For this tutorial, you will need 2 skeins of I Love This cotton yarn, a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and a Sentro machine. You will also need some scrap yarn for the waist yarn. So what we will do is begin to find the white needle there, and we'll put it on the right hand side of this gauge here. We will then zero out our count. To begin, we will use the scrap yarn here, and then this is what we call the waist yarn. So we will be doing 10 rows of this color here, and later on we'll be taking out the waist yarn, so this will not be the main color of your beanie. For this first needle, you will go under it, and then we'll drop this piece down in between, down in the middle there. So because this one's going under this needle, this next one, we'll crank it slowly, we'll go behind the needle. We'll crank it slowly again, then we'll go under the next one, crank it slowly again, and then go behind the next one. And you'll just go back and forth. Go behind one, in front of the other one, just back and forth. And take your time doing this part, because if you miss a stitch or miss a needle, you will be missing stitches throughout your whole piece. So just make sure you're going back and forth all along. Alright, and so how you know you did it right is we are back at the white needle, and then the white needle we are going behind it. So you will end with going behind because we started with going in the front. And then we will place our yarn in this little bracket here. And then this is the tension gauge here. So you will decide your tension depending on your weight of yarn. I'm going to be using the smallest one there. So like I said, for this yarn, it's just the waist yarn. So we're just going to crank it. So you'll just begin by cranking your machine. Go very slowly at first so that you don't miss any stitches. So you will crank up 10 rows of the waist yarn. Okay, so now that we're at 10 rows there, and that we have the white needle on the right hand side here, we will take our pair of scissors and we will cut the waist yarn there. What we will do is zero out the stitch count again. We will take the yarn out from the gauge down here at the bottom, take it out through the slot, and you're going to leave it in between the white hook and the pink hook there, and then just leave this strand in the middle there. You will take your first skein of yarn, and you will leave a pretty generous amount in the center there, because we will be using this to sew up the top later on. So you'll put that into the center there. You'll go in between the white hook and the first pink one, through the slot, and then on the tension gauge as well. You'll go under, and through the next, and then through the back one as well. I like to do that with this yarn because it is pretty silky, and it kind of slips the stitches, if you will. So I like to hold an extra gauge there, and I even kind of like to guide it with my hand as well, just so it doesn't slip any stitches there. So to transition the yarn, just crank it very slowly. Make sure it's grabbing the right yarn there. Okay, so I zoomed in for you guys so you can see this transition here. So this yellow yarn is going under the white hook, and this new strand of yarn is going in between the two, and then this one will pick it up. So you're going to crank it slowly. The white hook pulled the yellow one down. So I usually crank it pretty slowly during this first round, just so it doesn't miss any stitches at all. So now we're transitioning this new one, and then sometimes when you transition a yarn, this one likes to kind of go up, and then sometimes you'll miss it, the stitch there. So I just kind of like to push that down just so I have a peace of mind that my yarn will go through it. So again, you're just going to keep on cranking the machine here. You're going to crank the new yarn until you run out of your first skein. Okay, so I worked up the first skein, I cranked it all the way, and then your piece should be pretty long by now. I worked it up until 108 rounds there. So then I'm just going to take off the yarn on the gauge here, pull it up through that slot, and then let it rest in the center there in between the white hook and then the first pink one there. You'll take your second skein of yarn. You'll leave a pretty decent amount in the center there. You'll go in between the white and the pink hook there. Insert it through the slot. Then you will gauge it down here at the bottom by inserting it through the top one, weaving it through the second and third one there, just so that it has a tight gauge so it doesn't slip any stitches. Okay, so I zoomed in a little so you guys can see the transition. Alright, so it pulled it both through. You're just going to crank it around for one round until you see the white hook again. Okay, so you see the white hook again, so you're going to crank it through, and then these two strands where you transitioned, you are going to double knot it. So just going to do a little double knot, just kind of loosely do it. So you'll just loosely do your double knot there. And we'll go back and tighten that up once we're done. We're just going to kind of loosely knot it right now so that it doesn't fall out of place there. You're going to go all the way up until 130 rows, and then I'll meet you guys back and show you guys how to wind off. Okay, so I cranked up until 130 rows, and then you should have a pretty long piece here in the middle. What you'll do is cut off your yarn there. We will take it off the tension gauge. And then just like the times before, we'll take it out of the slot there and then insert it between the white and then the new pink one there. So you'll grab some more waste yarn. You will insert it again through the in between the white and the first pink one there through the slot. Then you'll round it on the tension gauge there. Again, I zoomed up so that you guys can see the transition. Alright, so we're not going to tie it yet. We're going to spin it around for one round, and then we'll knot this here so that it stays into place. Okay, so now that we're at the white one again, we will take these two strands and then you will loosely knot it like that. And then you're just going to wind up the remaining of the waste yarn. Make sure it's at least 5 to 10 rows there. Okay, so we're at the end of our waste yarn, and we're just going to keep on cranking it through. And just keep on cranking for about 2 rounds. Then as you can see, your piece will slowly start to come off the needles there. Okay, So then you'll grab your piece. So this is what your piece should be looking like. So what we'll do is kind of straighten it out. You will turn it to the side where we had the yarn transition, so that this is the inside of the beanie. So yeah, we're just going to kind of tug at it like this to kind of stretch out the stitches. Okay, so where we transition the yarn here, so this is where we transition the yarn. What you'll do, it's already loosely knotted, so you'll just tie it a little bit tighter until all of those stitches kind of come together. Then I like to triple knot it, so I'm going to double knot it and then triple knot it. And since this is going to be on the inside, you don't have to worry about sewing in the ends, so you'll just cut off pretty short there. Next, what you'll do is turn your piece kind of halfway inside out. So you'll grab the middle part there and you'll kind of pinch it. Kind of shimmy this part up along the other edge there on the other side. Kind of turn it in on itself there. And then just kind of make sure it's not twisted on the inside. Make sure it's all even. A good way to make sure it's even is that your strands will meet up here. So yeah, just make sure it's all folded correctly. There's no lumps or waves or twists and turns. Stretch it out a little bit. Now we will take our yarn needle here. So we will start with the main color yarn here. You'll just grab either one. You can grab this one on this side here or the front one, but I'm going to be working in the back ones here. Alright, so what you'll do is you will thread up your yarn there. Okay, so here's the new strand there. And then as you can see, this is the waist yarn, so we're not going to be worrying about that, but we do like to have that on there so that we can clearly see what stitches we need to pick up. So what you'll do is you'll go under the loop right there and pull through. You'll go over to the correlating one on this side. So see how that's the first loop up there? So you'll go under and thread it through so that those can cinch together. You'll move on to the next one. So see how that's the next available one over here? We'll grab that. Then we'll go over to the next available one over here and grab that. Okay. And then you'll just go back and forth, matching up all of the stitches there. So that's the next available main colored one. So you're not going to grab the yellow. You're going to grab the main colored piece there. Go over to the other side and grab the correlating stitch there. Alright. You're just going to go back and forth. So that's the next available one. So we'll pick that stitch up. And then that's the next available one on the other side. So we'll pick that up. And you'll go all the way around the piece, picking up those stitches. Okay, so you'll go all the way around and then I'll meet you guys back. Okay, so I went all the way around and I sewed together the two sides there. So now I'm back at the beginning. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of cinch it up, like pull that as much as you can. Now as you can see, it's starting to look kind of like a beanie. Alright, so what we'll do, cinch it up as much as we can. We're actually going to pull that yellow strand out, and then we're going to loosely knot it with the other tie there of the main piece. So we'll just kind of loosely do that. Leave those there. So now we will take out the waste yarn. That's kind of why they call it waste yarn, but it's just so that you guys can clearly see where to pick up the stitches. Okay, so for the yellow, which is the first color we worked with, you're just gonna have to pull it out slowly for the first few rows there before it gets going to where you can just pull it out. Okay, so once you got it going, you'll just kind of pull it out. Okay, so we got the yellow out of there. So now we'll do the same thing to this maroon yarn here. Just kind of unwind it. Okay, so now you will take your yarn here, unknot it. And you're just going to cinch it up even tighter, as tight as you can go. Okay, so you can see that there's still a little opening here. So what we will do, take our yarn needle again, take one of the strands there, thread it through the needle. So we'll just kind of tuck this one out of the way for a second. Then you'll go to the, see how this starts over here? We'll go to the other side there. Insert your needle to the center. You'll go through the beanie here. Grab that yarn. And then pull it through really tightly there. Okay. So as you can see, we went this way. So what we'll do is go to the other side here. Insert your needle, pull through, and then go to the other side there, and then go inside the beanie again. See my hands inside the beanie, and then I'm going to pull it through, pull tightly, kind of check up here, make sure it's cinched in tightly there. See, there's no more hole. So we'll leave this strand on the inside. We'll take our other yarn here, thread it up onto the yarn needle. Take your yarn, insert it to the middle there, and see how the yarn actually kind of came loose because we let go of the yarn there. But we'll thread that up and pull it tightly. You'll go to the inside, take these two strands here, pull very tightly so that there's no hole at the top. And then you will double knot this or triple knot it. I like to triple knot just to make sure. You'll cut your yarn there to a reasonable length to work with. You will thread up this yarn again onto the yarn needle. I like to thread up both at the same time. Okay, so both strands are through the yarn needle there. And then And then to hide the strands here, you're just going to work in between the layers here. See, there's a layer. So you'll just kind of fit this underneath the stitch there and go in between the layers. Make sure it's not going through to the other side. And poke out just anywhere random. And then you'll take your pair of scissors and you will cut up pretty short there. Make sure make sure not to cut your actual piece there. And then you'll just kind of stick it back up in there and see it's all hidden. Okay, so you just finished your beanie there. I like to fold up the brim. And now you have completed your hat. Thank you for watching.